Hey guys, I'm Duncan Wilson.
And I'm Sasha Syed, and you're listening to the Mortgage Sweet Spot Podcast, proudly presented to you by Mortgage Suite.
This podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, innovative strategies, and the latest mortgage trends to help you make the most informed decision regarding your mortgage financing. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned real estate investor, or maybe somewhere in between, you've come to the right spot.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover your mortgage sweet spot.
Hey guys, welcome back. I forget what episode it is. 16. Thank you, Maddie. Awesome stuff today. This is our first podcast of the new year, so a happy new year to everyone. As usual, I have my beautiful sidekick, Sasha.
What's up?
Today is a really cool day because not only do we have a guest, we have the one, the only, Amy DeBailey from Team Brad Bondi Remax Preferred. So she's in here today to give a kind of a realtor's perspective, talk about the market. We'll go to our beautiful pieces of paper to maybe keep track of it all. And then Amy's got some kind of cool news at the end of this podcast, just to let you know what's going on with her and her industry and what she's doing for the local community. But introducing Amy. So Amy's been a realtor for 8 years?
7 years, October 2024.
Yeah, why don't you give a background? Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thanks for such a great introduction.
You're welcome, Amy.
Hopefully I live up to it. I've been doing this for 7 years now. In October, I joined Brad Bondi and his team. Just prior to that, I actually worked for TD Canada Trust as a financial advisor. I was with them for 17 years, and I had held various roles. Like I started off as a floating teller, and then I was a greeter, and then I worked my way up. And the last 13 years of my career with the bank, I was an advisor, which I absolutely loved. So it's really nice to build relationships with you guys because this was the part of the job that I loved the most.
Oh, yeah.
Being in the role that I was, it was investing in day to day and borrowing and lending was always my favorite, right? I always like being able to help people,
Sure.
As opposed to people who maybe already have money and they're just looking for somebody to help grow that wealth. I would way rather work with those who are just figuring things out, or maybe you're in trouble, right?
Give
and finding a
solution.
solution to kind of work through things, right? Because money is scary. And then being on this side of it and being in the market we've been in, buying a house is frightening with all of the changes that we've been through, right?
That's a good word. Maddie, add that to our repertoire. Frightening, because it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where I go off script then. So you find that being at TD, doing the financial advising thing, you did mortgages there as well, right? So
Yes.
That background, it obviously makes you more aware of what's going on our side. How does that kind of alter your sales or your selling on the real estate side? Does it help? Does it make it even better? Talk about that.
Well, I think what it does is it gives people faith in me, right? Who don't know me, or especially when I was only in the industry for 6 months, a year, even a couple of years, when I'm competing, or not competing, but when there's agents that have been in the industry for years or decades, right? So being able to
And still don't know how to do a mortgage. Let's just point that
Right?
out, okay?
right, and that's the thing.
By
So one thing that was really big for me in doing this was being able to provide advice to people, but also knowing where my limits are. Because I don't lend anymore, right? I'm not in that
your
world
lanes.
anymore. So I'm not going to be like, hey, your payments might be this and blah, blah, blah. I'm more like, let's get you prepared.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that when you are ready to buy this house, that you understand the importance of your pre-approval. You understand the importance of your credit score, what a down payment looks like.
Yeah.
If you need parents to help gift you, what that looks like, where money can come from, right? So really just trying to prepare my buyers the best that I can so that when they get in front of you as a lender, you're not like, hey, I need A to double Z. And you're like, here,
Yeah.
I already have it because Amy's my agent and she's prepared me.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially when I'm working with young people, right? I get their parents who are just like, I haven't bought real estate in 30 years. And then they
Yeah.
look down on you a little bit and they're really frustrated by this process. I get
All
it.
we needed was a driver's license and a pay stub
What do
to
you
get a
mean?
mortgage.
All we needed was to know the branch manager. He knew me by name and approved all my mortgages. What do you mean, Credit Bureau Equifax?
Well, and what do you mean that I'm competing? What do you mean that I have to go over asking? What do you mean that I don't have to put, right?
Yeah.
Is this whole world has been completely flipped, from what it was years ago when people, even when I bought my house. I've been a homeowner for 22 years. It took 6 months and the seller came back to me. That kind of stuff doesn't happen, right?
It's like, can you please buy my home?
Honest to goodness, and it's the truth. We walked away for 6 months. Our guy was holding 2 properties, and he had already moved out to Kingsville, and his house was sitting vacant, right? But nobody wanted it because the basement was like 5 feet tall, and it was 900 square feet, and the market wasn't so hot back in 2001.
Yeah, so when you list a house, all you do is go to the classified ads and put it in the newspaper then, right? Is that what's happening?
Or you drive by and you just see a sign and be like, oh, right? Like it's such a different world.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about pre-approval. So talk to me about the worst time someone wasn't pre-approved and it was just like, what the heck? And then talk to me about why maybe someone should just get a pre-approval before looking for a house and how it helps you as a realtor. I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is when you don't have a pre-approval or you don't listen to the advice given to you, because it's amazing that all of your friends and everybody else knows much
The mom
more.
and dad you just talked about.
Much more than the professionals, which I get it, guys. Like we do want opinions and we do talk to people around us, but I think it's really important to hold value in the people that you're hiring to represent you, right? It is our job to really properly educate you. So the really frustrating part is that when you're in the market of multiple offers and I'm like, hey, do we have our pre-approval? Hey, I'm sorry, I haven't got it yet, but I'm showing you 15 homes in 2 days and you love 3 of them. And now I know I'm competing and I don't even know if we're looking at homes that are within your price range. I don't know if your credit's actually okay. You don't tell me that you're on probation. That is challenging stuff, right? Yeah. So like to say that there's one particular story, I'd say there's not, but it happens unfortunately too often where there's
more of a plot and a theme than a specific story.
Right? And it's like, well, we just want to try. We just want to see what's out there. Well, I get it. And I appreciate that you want to see what's out there and I want to help you. On the flip side, you have to realize that there's a lot of time and energy and money that we spend as agents to bring you to these properties. And if you don't actually qualify for them, you're getting your hopes set up on something that you may never even have. Right?
I know what you mean by that. The hope.
So that's the frustrating part of it, right?
So would you say going to you without pre-approval, and you guys all know me, here's my analogy. I'm going to go to my GP, my general practitioner, and say, I need to see a leg specialist. And he's going to say, well, why do you need to do that? We need to qualify you first before you go see this leg guy. No. I did my internet research. I talked to my mom. WebMD. She says I need a leg specialist. And he's going to be like, okay. But if he sends you that leg specialist, turns out something's wrong with your arm, it's just a waste of GP's time. Did that make sense to everybody?
Or you go onto the site and you're like, I did the mortgage pre-approval calculator on my own. And guess what? I can afford $750,000. And you're like, well.
Did your calculator take into account for your debts? Did your calculator ask you if you're on probation or contract or part-time? Did your calculator ask you if you're in school? Do
you remember that your school education debt actually counts, even though the government gives you 40 years to pay it off?
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Wait,
I don't have
does?
to make that payment. I'm in repayment assistance. Guess what? 3% of the balance.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, right? And that's where it doesn't really make sense. So like, I get people telling. I mean, I've done it myself, and I'm like, holy shit! Do you see how much we qualify for? And I'm like, oh. And literally, I did this job. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this, and I forgot about this. I forgot about this, right? Or you forget that you just went and spent $2,000 at Tupperman's, and and put it on a payment plan. But it's okay because you're paying $25 a week, and it'll be gone in a year and a half. Guys, I do it all the time, but I forget, right? So like, if I forget that, and I have this knowledge,
Yeah. The worst is when somebody's like, hey, I just got an accepted offer on this property. Here's my income docs. 3 days later, you go pull the bureau. Well, what did you get from Tepperman's last week? Well, I bought a fridge and a couch and a TV, and I'm going to furnish my house. Great. You don't approve for that mortgage anymore that we told you about 3 weeks ago.
That whole scenario is Amy's fault. She's like, look, a brand new fridge would look good in this kitchen.
Yeah.
No, Amy says this is beautiful. The house comes with appliances.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares if it's 20 years old? You'll update it later, guys.
There it is.
It's okay.
That's why we like Amy.
Yeah.
That's right. She likes that. All right. So
humble beginnings, okay? Humble beginnings, guys.
That's right.
It's okay.
That's it.
So what sets you apart from other realtors in this market? What would you say is your best quality?
Honestly, I am honest. I'm transparent. I speak just regular language, right? And one of the things I learned years ago from another agent was like the direct eye contact is really huge, right? And direct eye contact with all parties involved, because I find, especially as a woman in business or over time or just being the spouse of somebody, people tend to gravitate towards one person and the part. Yes. And it's really frustrating, right? So I learned years ago at the bank that, you know, it's amazing how far that eye contact goes when dealing with people, because it's not just your money, it's your money, right? Or making sure that I am connecting with parents. Like I am keen on getting parents to love me.
Yeah.
Because if those parents love me, they know that I'm looking out for their children, right? Who are grown adults, but they've never done this before. And in this kind of market, and I also, as much as I don't have, 20 years of experience here, I'm not 20 years old.
Yeah.
I've been a homeowner for years. I've had debts. I've had
24.
Oh no, I have a 24-year-old. That's crazy. So that's the other thing, is that I can also relate to people in that respect by having, older children.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, if the parents really like me, one day they're probably going to downsize because they're probably in a home that's too big for them, and the kids are moving out. So you gain trust and you build those relationships, right?
It's pretty cool then. So you're like really relationship sensitive, like
literally, I just care about people and I care about helping them get to where they want to be. I've never looked at sales as sales.
Yeah.
I think if you take care of people and you do your job right, the sales come, the numbers come, and you become good at your job. And that's where people start to refer you. And then, you start to build those relationships with people. Cause there's over 1,000 realtors, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get somebody to choose you over somebody else? We're just real people, and we drive Fords that have dents in the back, and my shoes come from College Spring, and sometimes I buy things.
Jacket comes
from like thrift shops, right?
This is awesome.
So when you act and look and be like everybody, it just helps you connect with everybody.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
So do you focus more on residential stuff, or do you do a little bit of everything, or do you have a niche specific?
We do a little bit of everything, right? I would say primarily our bulk of business is like residential resale, right?
So talking all of Southern Ontario, right? Like, are you going specifically?
I jump on planes. Where do you want to go? No,
That's what I figured.
I will sell you that house in Ottawa.
Right? What's really great is Mortgage Suite usually picks up the bill. It's beautiful here.
We do.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so if you're a realtor, come work with us.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that you asked that, though, because I live in Amherstburg, and people do tend to think that your bulk of your business is where you live, right?
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, we are Windsor and Essex County. Brian was just out in Chatham last week. The amount of times that I'll go to Tilbury, Chatham, Wheatley, right? Like, if we've got to drive a couple of hours because that's what makes sense for our clients, then that's what we're going to do. On the flip side, we have really good relationships with other agents. So I might have to call another agent. Like, we've just, Remax has just expanded out to Chatham, right? If it's a one-off property, I know I can call a Chatham agent and say, hey, I need you to help take care of my client for me. And we've got a really good business relationship with that, because it's not always easy either, right? To just fly off, because you lose 5 hours of a day just in driving and showing one house. So if we can find other ways to work together with other agents,
keep the client informed
and keep them happy, right? And that's right.
So what are you seeing with offers and stuff now?
Yeah, what is Amy Bailey's prediction of the future market?
Things are going up. Just in the last month, we've had over 120 listings from December 14th to today come on the market, which we really expected to happen, right? Christmas is a little bit of a slower time, but you still have people that want to list around Christmas, because you just never know when that right buyer is out there, right?
Those conservative shoppers, like searching in the wintertime looking for a good deal.
Sure, which is great. It's great for a buyer, typically not as advantageous for a seller, unless that seller is okay, not, I don't want to say not getting top dollar, but not needing that kind of, say, spring market or something like that, because maybe they're financially set and the timing just works for them and whatever. Because here's what we can't ever presume is why a seller is selling and what they will take. Because it's not always about money, guys.
I agree. And not getting top dollar just means maybe they found a good deal where they didn't pay top dollar on the other end too.
Or they've owned their house for 40 years and they owe zero on it. Yeah. And maybe it's young people that are coming in and they just want to give somebody a break because they've set themselves up so well, right? Like, not everybody wants an investor to buy their home because it's been their family home where their kids have been raised, right?
Do you find that still in the market, the compassion there? Like the actual compassion?
I think so.
Because I remember back in the day, we used to, oh my God, I had a borrower, we're talking going back 15 years maybe. I wrote a letter for the borrower explaining everything, gave it to the realtor. Realtor brings it over and the offer got accepted. I almost cried. A tear came to my eye. I was like, man, this letter actually worked. This is awesome. But that still happens?
100%. I've actually gotten accepted offers with less money than other people because of who was buying the property.
I really think that's awesome. So you think that house prices are going to go up on the mortgage side? Rates are kind of, jumping up and down, and not a whole lot. Right, they're going up a little bit because the bond. But then again, it might splash back down. And remember, guys, the prime rate is not indicative of the 5-year fixed mortgage rate.
Yes.
The prime rate
That's a big
is in
deal.
regards to what they lend money out to. It's to do with the fiscal and monetary policy. 5-year fixed rate is just to do with the pricing of mortgages and if they can make a profit. So there is a major difference. But when we see rates decrease, am I right in saying this? Your house prices go up. You get more buyers, which creates more competitive offers.
Their affordability goes up,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And that creates the sense of confidence for buyers, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's be real, these last like 4 or 5 years have been an absolute roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
And for those who are just kind of keeping an eye on things or have been younger and not in the time to buy a house at that time, they are scarred by that, right? So when you get into the market now and those who were 15 or 16 years old at that time are now 20 and 21, 23, whatever, and wanting to be a homeowner, they're super guarded. They're very, very protective. And this is why we're seeing, which I'm thankful for, but this is why we're seeing conditions come back in. We need
Oh my
conditions.
God,
we need to
Condition
protect
of
people.
financing, the date of which you can take some time in order to remove and make the offer basically a valid offer.
Yeah.
It's usually 5 business days. God's sakes, I used to do them like 3 weeks.
Thank you
Be
for
awesome.
saying 5 business days. I've had some people be like, 5 business days is too much, too long. Like, man, lenders are busy. We need that couple of
yeah.
extra days.
Not only that, like, why would you want somebody to rush something, miss something, and then all of a sudden you've removed a condition, we're coming closer, and that lender missed something, or that
Yeah.
adjudicator has missed something because they're reviewing their files or whatever,
You
right?
see inspections coming back?
All of it. You see conditions of financing, inspections, septic, house
Value
to sell.
That's so cool. So
Right.
really, we're going from a roller coaster to the teacup rides.
Yeah.
They're the little rolly teacup rides.
Well, I think
that.
we're back to where we should. I think we're back to where we should be.
Yeah.
Right. I think rates are in a more reasonable space. Our housing prices have gone from, what used to be $150,000 has turned into a, almost $400,000 home. Like that's just freaking crazy.
Yeah.
But it's the truth, right? So now we have an idea of what these home prices are. Now we've got a balance to our rates. Like we're not all over the place,
Yeah.
right? Like even if you got slight fluctuations, that is normal in our world, right? So if you've got a good agent, if you've got a full-time agent, you got somebody who's there to like advise you and walk you through this process, it helps you, but it doesn't stop our buyers from just being really guarded and protective. And just remember, like, write an offer. If you like the house, write an offer, put conditions on it. All I'm saying is give yourself some wiggle room, right?
Yeah.
But from a buyer's perspective, if I got 2 conditions in place and one's an inspection and one's a financing, I know I can get my inspection done before my financing, right? So
Yeah.
I show good faith by saying, hey, I'm going to lift this condition. I'm not going to make, the seller wait the full 5 business days and stress out and be like, oh my God, how are they doing? I'd be like, no, here, look at, I have fulfilled my home inspection. I have serious, genuine interest. Now all we have to do is wait for the financing. So strategically, outside of, writing a letter, who it is that's buying the house, you can always look at that offer and say, okay, how do we appeal to the seller in the best way that we can, knowing that we're also protecting ourselves, right?
Okay.
It's
I
just,
like
it's just
it.
different.
Yeah.
things.
My next question, okay, because you're on the spot here. So last year, I had a client going 29 offers and then finally gave up.
Wow.
Lost out on 29 homes.
29 offers.
It got to the point
That's
where,
heartbreaking.
I mean, yeah, when they called me on the 20th, I was like, here we go again.
That's
Why did
sucks.
they make so many offers?
They just found a house, liked it, but it got bid out. So what's your
Yeah,
they're trying.
suggestion as a realtor? Like,
Oh, yeah.
what is words of encouragement and inspiration for anybody that's going into the market right now, wants to buy a new house? Well, let's talk specifically about the first-time home buyer.
I would say don't give up. Have patience. I mean, truly, as a first-time home buyer, you're going to find yourself competing against the most amount of people. Your price range is probably going to be between that, $300,000 to $500,000 range. So first-time home buyers, retirees, and investors, people who maybe have split and have to downsize, right? So like that is your bulk of properties. So you're going to find yourself just unfortunately with more competition out there. So I think it's keeping your eyes open, it's getting out to see the properties, and if you like it, right.
Yeah.
Right? There's no harm in writing. I know that it's incredibly disheartening when you continuously lose. It really is hard. It is hard mentally. You don't sleep. It's stressful. You get frustrated. You want to give up on the process.
Yeah.
But if you're really, truly interested, if you're writing, you're interested, right? So just keep writing those offers, and maybe over time you become more confident in what you're seeing. Or maybe dad really is a really good, eye for you at these homes, and you can go in and say, I'm okay without a home inspection because I can see that it has Kitech. I understand that it has aluminum wiring. I know the house was built in the 70s. I see these things, and a home inspector is going to tell you the same thing.
Yeah,
right? Now, granted, a home inspector is going to walk the roof and check your insulation and check for water and all that kind of stuff. So, which I love going in crawl spaces. You learn a lot when you hang around with home inspectors. But I mean, over time, it might be one of those things where you're like, okay, I might have been full of conditions for my first 15 offers, but this is becoming exhausting. Yeah. And I feel okay not putting this condition in, and we can do this. Or maybe you've had really great conversations with your lenders and you're working well within the limits of what your lender has told you. And you're like, well, we're going to go for it and maybe take that financing condition out, but maybe you got a home inspection condition. And that gives you that time to breathe. Right? So financing might actually be your issue that you're working on, but you put a home inspection condition in there because you're still protecting yourself. It just gives you that time, right? Even when people write letters, right? I mean, I've had people write letters that say, look, we're just putting these conditions in because we've never bought a house. And it's just one of those things that makes us cautious as first time buyers. Please know the interest. We really do love your home and the care that you've put into it.
Interesting. I didn't know that you can do that.
You can do anything. It's whether it works.
Yeah.
Shoot your shot, man. See what sticks, right?
So I would say some movies. Ariel never gave up trying to get legs to walk on land. Watch some Little Mermaid. Watch any Disney movie while you're trying to buy a house because they're all inspirational. Did Moana give up trying to find whatever she was trying to find, right? Fete or whatever it was. Don't give up. Just watch some Disney movies, apply it to your home buying process, and that's it. You'll keep going.
Totally
sound words of advice here. I'd also say on the real life aspect of things, just stay in contact with your agent, right? And with your lender and with whomever, right? Just keep communication open. And if you're feeling tired and stressed and maybe you need a break, then take a break.
It's true.
It's our job too to always keep our eyes open for you, right? Because we might see something and you're like, Amy, I'm done. Like, I just need a pause. Take a pause. But I'm like, hey, by the way, did you see that? Right? Like, and that might be the one thing that they need because they weren't paying attention. They're like, holy shit, this is actually it. And boom, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the 25th one is the one that works. So when I first started in the business, and we would do offers, we would always have the opportunity, most of the time, to present our offers to the sellers, right? We get to meet them in person. We get to shake their hand. They get to see us, which allows us to create the story in the background for our buyers, right? Yeah. Pandemic comes, of course, everybody's afraid to be near each other, breathe on each other, shake each other's hands. So all of that kind of stuff went away. It is starting to come back. I don't think that we offered enough truly as a on offer dates to have people sit with our sellers. Yeah, and I think it needs to come back because I'll tell you, there's no better feeling than like sitting in a room with like 4 other agents and offers being, and then, they're like, thanks for coming out. Amy, hang out for a second. I'm like, okay. Because I've sat in there and I've had this great conversation, right?
So you're actually doing that too.
Okay.
Totally got this in the bag.
Okay, cool. And meanwhile, I'm just like giddy and super excited, right? Because I'm about to like make the best phone call ever and tell my people that they got a house, right? And so I mean, really, it's patience, it's perseverance, it's working with the right people, right? That's what you got to do, and you also got to remember times of year matter.
Yeah.
Right. Your spring and summer is going to be a much busier market.
Your much more drastic.
Your inventory is going to be higher, but your buyers are higher, right? Mm-hmm. And then your fall, you start to tweeter off, and is that the right word? Anyway,
teeter. We just make up words anyway.
I am really good at making up words. I'm actually really good at making up last names. I'm wrong.
You're tweetering on the word teeter right now. It's interesting.
So, pay attention to the time of year. From sellers too. Sellers get really discouraged in down markets, right? Because they're like, my house has been on the market for a month. And I'm like, well, You did it at Christmas. Again, shoot your shot. If it doesn't work, then you can always re-strategize and see what happens, which is, I think, what we're seeing happening right now in January, right?
Yeah,
you'll see relist of prices too, which I don't think people need to stress and worry about and be like, oh my God, is there something wrong with your house? You're like, no, we tried strategy A.
So funny how
it didn't particularly work, but it could work. It could have worked. And I'd rather get people in your door and maybe not offer what you want than get nobody in your door at all.
Yeah.
Then if I go into a price increase, at least we're speaking to the world and saying, hey guys, this is now more of a traditional list. Here's where our mindset is. Now you know going in what that.
Yeah, it'd be like lowering the price. We're taking the roof with us. That's why we lowered it. Like, I don't get it. Like,
sorry, you can't have those shingles.
Yeah, we're taking them. Okay, so I would say we're gonna wrap it up here. But Amy, awesome information. Not only are you awesome, obviously, in your profession, you know what's going on, but there's also smart things you do in the community. Other than helping buyers and home buyers and first-time home buyers get awesome deals and listings, what are you doing?
Thanks. I appreciate you letting me talk about this. So I am from Amherstburg, and I am really big in the community. I've actually been part of a youth center there. Used to be called the House of Shalom Youth Center. We have rebranded some years ago. It's just called the House Youth Center at this point. And it's been around since 1971. I have been part of it since 1994. It's a youth center targeted towards high school students, right? It is peer mentoring. Literally, it's just a place to hang out. We do weekly meetings. We have leaders, which are your peer mentors, but they range anywhere from like 18 to, could be 75 years old. Just depends on who it is that we have in our repertoire that's, that has the time to volunteer to be part of those groups. And those leaders are with our members for 4 years. So they start with these kids in grade 9 and they grow all the way with them till grade 12. Wow. The great thing about it is that we do fun activities and meetings and topics that are very relatable to everything that we go through in everyday life. And we do fun things, or we just talk about relationships, right? And sometimes like our hearts are absolutely crushed and broken over a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or how our siblings treat us, or like our parents suck and they don't get us and blah, 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 whatever. We have an opportunity to air those things out. We give you tools and fun activities that help you to deal and process with things, because we kind of live in a snowflake kind of world and everybody's feelings get hurt all the time. And then we cater to everybody all of the time, which is not going to make successful adults. Yeah. And our world is full of a mental health crisis and drugs and opioids and homeless and homeless encampments, right? Like there's a major problem going on. So what we do is we're looking at this from the youth standpoint to try to give our young ones the tools so that they can cope and grow as adults to be the people that they really want to be and that we need in our community and our societies, right? Because they're going to be our workers and our business owners, our parents, our teachers, and whatever, right? So
mortgage brokers.
I mean, I never saw myself as a real estate agent, but I'll tell you, being in the banking and doing this job, the skills that I learned years ago have helped me. What I wanted to just promote and talk about is a Coldest Night of the Year walk. February 22nd, 2025, the House Youth Center is doing our 5th annual Coldest Night of the Year walk, which is gigantic to be 5 years into doing cool. This. It's pretty awesome. So the Coldest Night of the Year walk actually happens all across Canada. There's over 100 different nonprofit organizations. The organizations that are part of this all deal with either homelessness, hunger, and mental health. We are looked at as preventative because, again, we see what's happening in our world all over our country, right? So a really big deal for us to have this. Shooters Roadhouse is our lead sponsor. So we've got an after party happening there. Awesome. We've got a DJ, Vanessa. I always call her DJ Varoom. See, I make up names. That's not correct.
I like it.
But she's the cutest thing. So we've got Amherstburg firefighters who actually cook us chili and serve it to us. We've got Festival Tents who donates tents. And I mean, honestly, it is such an incredible thing. We've got a goal of $50,000. The way to participate or any way to help towards this is you can either be a sponsor from a business standpoint, which is really great. We've got lots of opportunities for sponsorship. We're also looking for team captains to create teams and walkers. Every youth 17 and under is we ask you to raise $75. Anybody 18 or older is $150. And then when you meet that goal, you get a really cool toque, which I forgot to bring it in. It's sitting in my car. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it.
Gosh, darn it. Skippity dippies.
So every year the hat is different, which is really cool. So it's kind of like when you run races and stuff and you get different medals. So you get new hats every year. So this year, actually, it's a color like this. It's really cool. And it's got like a brown leather.
Last year.
Listen, so do I all the time.
I like that one. This new one better be cool.
You'll like this new one.
Yeah, and guys, I did go last year, and it obviously is called Sinoy, Coldest Night of the Year. If you want to make it like that, just take your winter jacket off and walk the walk because it's freezing.
It is. Okay? Yeah. If you do that way,
it'll be the coldest damn night of the year. Let me tell you,
quite cold. So. But the House Youth Center, I mean, you could always find myself too, or find them online. And, I appreciate like you forever and always. You're a huge supporter of us and I love you. And I really do appreciate you guys. And actually they got a really great photo booth from Lux Prince, which is really cool. So that'll actually be at the event and then it'll be at our after party. So again, thanks for giving me the chance to just chat about it. Cause I mean, again, it's our 5th year. We've got a big goal and, I just care about people and kids, right? And none of my kids go there. I don't know most of these kids. So when you ask about one of the things about who I am is that I do things for people that I don't know. I do things for people so that we can be better as a community and grow, right? So
good.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, good stuff. Amy, thank you so much for sharing all that. Guys, where do you register?
You would go to cnoy.org. Or even if like you just Google like Coldest Night of the Year, you find location, you type in Amherstburg, you create a profile, you become a team captain, you can recruit people. And then we also have, just in case anybody does do this, because it's super fun, we built a really good relationship with GL Heritage on Howard Avenue. And we do a so-called social there. So on February the 7th, it's going to be 2 weeks before. We do the so-called social. We invite all of our walkers out, our sponsors. For anybody who's actually registered and participating, we give everybody a $10 food voucher, as well as everybody gets a drink. They got a food truck that comes out. And it's just our way to say thank you. Cool. And like maybe just kind of pump people up and give you a little motivation and see what else we can raise in the last 2 weeks of the actual time before the walk. And then
it's a 5K walk, correct?
So it could be a 2K walk or a 5K walk, because not everybody can do 5K, right? And it's really nice if you've got people, or maybe you've got like a young mom and you don't want to be out there for 5 kilometers with a baby in a stroller. Maybe you do the 2K and then you come back and we kind of work it out that way. So it's nice to have options.
Yeah. So guys, just hear me out. Great realtor. Obviously amazing in the community over here. So guys, register for Sinoy. Come on out that day. You can reach Amy's cell phone number.
519-551-1044.
There it is, guys. Again, thank you.
You do like a twinkle in my eye?
Don't worry, Donnie will put the graphics
Thanks for the show. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned to the next one, guys. Everybody say goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen borrowers, thanks for tuning in to the Mortgage Sweet Spot. If you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes or questions for our hosts, me and Sasha, throw them in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can check us out on YouTube. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.